The format for this meeting is a 10-minute speaker, our secretary's announcements, a coffee and snack break, and our main speaker. Our first speaker tonight is Kate.
Hi, Kate, grateful alcoholic. Hey. Somebody's timing me right. Thank you. Okay. Oh gosh, Wayno just asked me this morning. I want to say welcome to our newcomers. There's a lot of you, and this program has worked for me. I'm 4.5 years sober, and I remember what it was like to be new, so it's really impressive that you came tonight and stood up and said your names. I want to say a early happy birthday to Wayno. He's 32 tomorrow, so as long as he can make it till midnight, guys, we'll see. I don't know. He's an alcoholic of all sorts. So usually before I speak, I say, God, please speak through me what others need to hear to stay sober today. This isn't about me. I'm trying to remove my ego and speak whatever it is that you guys need to hear. When I first started drinking, like my first drink was at the dinner table. I was 9 years old. My dad pushed it to me, gave me a glass of wine, and he said, this is what we do as a family. And it was ingrained in me that whether we were happy or sad or whatever was going on, we could drink at home. I think in hindsight, he was trying to keep me from maybe binge drinking with friends, saying this is a safe thing to do at home. But what he did was he normalized drinking. He made it seem like this is what everyone did, and we didn't do anything without it, like nothing. He wouldn't even go to Disneyland because they didn't serve alcohol, which, by the way, they do at California Adventure now. It's just so normalized. So basically, when he did that and that got ingrained in me, it just created this pattern throughout my life of it was normal and therefore made me feel comfortable once I had my first sip. When he gave me that drink, I didn't go off to the races. It wasn't one of those things where I was hiding in the corner at 9 and drinking. Again, it was more normalized. So when I got to middle school and high school and everyone was trying it, it just came into the picture and I started to use it. And then I thought I was a little good girl because I wouldn't touch the drugs. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't go there. But I would drink until I threw up, or I would drink with friends, again, in any circumstance. And so I got to college, and then I did start the drugs. And obviously those are outside issues, but I had a nice love affair with cocaine for about 10 years. It let me drink more. That's how I know I'm a real alcoholic, is because that was just a substance I used in order to have more alcohol. And then when I got out of college, I moved to LA, and I thought, I'll slow down, I'll get a job, it'll be great. No, I just sped up. LA was so easy to do the all-night partying. Then I was like, I'll get married and I'll have kids, and that'll slow me down. No, I got married, one of the youngest of all of my friends, and I had my kids alcoholically, I like to say, because I had 3 kids in 4 years. I could stay sober during my pregnancies. I would have a little bit of wine here and there, but I didn't drink through them. So I never thought I had a problem. I was watching my dad, that guy that pushed the wine at me, and I was like, he's the alcoholic. He's the one that overdrinks. He's the one with a problem. Both my parents are also bipolar. And it created this chaos at home that that was also normalized. And so sometimes now I still crave the chaos, which is emotional sobriety and something I work on. So I'm blaming my dad, and I have this 3rd child, and she's a year old, and I think to myself, I am freaking miserable. What is going on? So I did the thing where you point the finger and 3 are pointing back at you, and I went to Al-Anon, and I was like, it must be my dad. He must have a problem. And so I went to Al-Anon for a couple months, and I did the first 3 steps, and once I got to step 4, then the fingers were pointing back at me, and I saw it. I was like, oh my gosh, I think I have a drinking problem. But this has been my problem throughout my whole sobriety. I chose it. I didn't get a DUI. I didn't end up in jail. It was something that I knew internally was wrong, but no one on the outside thought it was wrong. Everyone thought I was the fun party girl. They thought I was the one where if I had 5 people over for brunch, I made sure there were 7 bottles of champagne, because obviously everyone needed a bottle and I needed 2 of my own. Anyway, so I decide after all these months in Al-Anon, I am going to be sober curious. I'm going to maybe stop drinking for a little bit, but I'm not going to stop drinking all the way. Like, I'm just going to test the waters. Maybe do like a 21-day cleanse. This will be great. I drink again. I use cocaine again. Like, these are not normal things. And again, LA, I think, makes it so normalized. And just FYI, it's not normal. And so I tried it out. I tried Instagram. I tried Facebook groups. I tried it all. And I was like, still so miserable. And so finally I got brave enough to walk into AA. And I walked into the 645 Hermosa Beach Alano Club. And that is still my home group to this day. I see some familiar faces. And there was a guy named Win. And just like Wayno, a nice older gentleman that hopefully doesn't 13-step anybody. And he, just kidding, he grabbed me and he pulled me in and he said, you know, you're welcome here. And he actually said, we laugh more in the big room than we do in the back room. And so thank you. He got me into the big room, as they call it. And I sat down and I listened. And everyone was saying what I felt. And I was too scared to say. I had all these negative thoughts swirling in my head. I had all this angst and animosity about, what does my life look like without drinking? How can I possibly give up the thing that I do, whether I'm happy or sad, that makes me feel like me? Like literally, I didn't feel like myself. And so I sat down and I cried every fucking day. I still cry, and I'm 4.5 years. And I just listened to you guys. And I'm so grateful for the people that show up and are vulnerable. I did not know what that looked like. Like, you walk out of these rooms and it feels like nobody feels the way that you do. And I got a sponsor. I worked the 12 steps thoroughly. I was so committed to being like, holy shit, you all are saying this is going to fix me. I will do my best. And if I make it to a year and I get through all 12 steps and I still want to drink again, then I'll just drink again. I was just like, fuck it, I will try anything. Excuse my language. I know we're in a church building. And I did the steps thoroughly. And my sponsor was amazing. And I want to let the people know going through their step work that I did not feel relief through 4 and 5. A lot of people say they do. I felt shame and shitty. And I said all the things that I had never said to another human being. I had never admitted some of these things out loud. And I went to the ocean after and I put my feet in because they say you should be alone for like an hour and ruminate on all that fun stuff. And I let it wash away my shame. And I'll never forget, I woke up the next day and I'm driving down the street and all of a sudden my mind was free of negative thoughts. I did not know what that felt like. I had no clue. Like, I'm getting goosebumps right now. It's like it was yesterday. And I'm getting so emotional because, you know, I've walked through some stuff in sobriety and I have had God shot after God shot. My now ex-husband, he got sober 6 months after me. We couldn't make it work. When I knew I wanted to drink again, I was like, I need to leave you. So that divorce was finalized this June. But I've walked through a lot, but this year alone, I've walked through the most. My sponsor was Denise Lavelle, and she died suddenly in January. And she was sober 20 years, and she was such a light, and I'll never be able to replace her. And a couple months after that, that alcoholic father of mine died in April. And then I buried him in June. And then my divorce was finalized the next day. And then a couple weeks later, I just put my dog down of 13.5 years. The only thing I know for sure is I don't drink today. The only thing I know for sure is that I just don't freaking drink. And I don't know what that is. All I can call it is a higher power. If you just have like an ounce of faith, what is that? The mustard seed from the Bible. Like, if you just have a mustard seed of faith and you just ask, either for the obsession to be removed to drink, which now that's not what it is for me anymore. What it is for me now is just relieve me of the bondage of self. And it's so I can better do his will. It's so I can show up tonight when my kids are with my now ex-husband for 5 nights and I'm miserable because I miss them. But then Wayno calls and asks me to speak, and I say, I guess you needed me here more than you needed me there. So again, all I know for sure is just don't drink one day at a time. It's literally so stupid, but it's so true. And sometimes it's going to feel like 1 hour at a time, and sometimes it's going to feel like a minute at a time. Today I had a hard day, and I didn't want to show up, but I did. And so I'm just really grateful, and I'm just going to shut up so Wayno can talk to you guys now. Thanks for letting me share.
We'll start off with the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. All right. Now our main speaker will share his experience, strength, and hope with us. Please join me in welcoming Wayno from Redondo.
I love you guys. Wayno, alcoholic. Wayno. It's been a rough day, rough couple of weeks, rough month, rough year, but we don't drink, and we share our pain, so it lessens, and we share our joy, and it doubles. Man, it's an honor and a privilege to be here. Thank you, Chris. I don't even think he's here, but thank you, Chris, for inviting me out. It's an honor and a privilege. I am not an authority on Alcoholics Anonymous. I am just an authority on my experience, strength, and hope of staying here for 11,687 days, one day at a time. If you're not a mathematician, that is 30 days, 11 months, and 31 years. So like Kate said, thank you, Kate, for coming out. I love you. And I'll be 32 at midnight. So keep my fingers crossed, you know. And there's a lot of people that came to support me on this, and I want to thank you for coming out. I like to be kept honest because I was a whack job, and I have an easy time and just like, you know, thinking everything's hip, slick, and cool, and I got it like that, and I don't, you know. I'm still an alcoholic. I still surrender my life and will over the care of God as I understand Him. I would die without that, and sometimes I get lost, and I'm grateful for the men that came before me that helped me train my feet to go to meetings when things are good, bad, and different. So that way, I see the God in you that brings out the God in me, and then we celebrate sobriety and through all those rough moments. And man, it's been a rough. Anyways, I've been up since 3 this morning because I was excited about going to give a friend a cake out in Northridge at 5:30 in the morning, but. I do a 5:30 a.m. meeting, I do a 7 a.m. meeting, I do a 9 o'clock meeting. I do meetings all the time. You know, it's what saved my life, you know. I don't know about you. When I'm alone, I'm outnumbered with the disease, and I need ammunition. And the only thing that's given me that ammunition is the black print of the 12 and 12 in the big book and some spiritual, some religious, some philosophical books that I read that I really depend on for some guidance, because my heart and my mind sometimes are in way different directions, and I need to be reined in like a wild Mustang, and it works, you know. And wow, I better have some water. I didn't think it was going to be that rough, you know. It's not rough. Come on, out there was rough. All right, so I'm going to tell you part of my story. I'm going to talk about a lot of different things because there are a lot of different things going through my brain. My buddy that oh man. When I was new, I didn't have any feelings. Jesus Christ, no. And it was a good thing and a bad thing that's going to happen, man. If you stick around here, feelings. And It's a beautiful thing because I don't like numb and I don't like anger because that's the only thing I had. And my mentor for the last 35 years, passed away about 10, 11 days ago. And I woke up to thunderstorms. And I was thinking right away, it's like God's playing trumpets for him, like welcome Dave Bards to the party upstairs. And then tears of joy were raining down. And I was like, I was happy and sad at the same time. Because when my world was falling apart, I ran to that man. And there's very few other men that I can do that with. And I'm glad I got a lot of other men I can choose from that are really, stable, sober, sane for the most part. We are alcoholic, and we're blessed. If you're here and you're one of us and you're not sure, I hope that you find what I found here, which is hope and love. And I didn't like uttering those words when I was new. I avoided it like the plague. And but you guys won me over, And I was thinking of Patch Alex. I was just telling the birthday boy Todd about he would always end his pitch with like, "Are we preparing ourselves for the newcomers that are coming in?" And I was new when he was saying that, so I can understand a little bit what he was trying to get at. But I didn't think it was like, man, they're going to have the newcomer reunion now, and it's like you can't talk mean to them. And no, it's really different, because of the dynamics of this disease. It's cunning, baffling, powerful, and it still wants my last breath. And if you co-sign me when I'm in my madness, it'll take yours too. So. Anyways, I come from a really dysfunctional family in Brooklyn, second generation parents from both sides, and really dysfunctional. A lot of violence and a lot of incest and a lot of violence and a lot of moving and a lot of dysfunction, man. And, I didn't think I would make it to 18, let alone 20. And was beat, molested, had 5 dads by the time I was 12, stealing food for a family of 6 when I was 9. I used to be able to make a little bombs when I was 8 years old, practiced pulling knives out of my pocket open when I was 8. And so that was the kind of trajectory I was shooting for, It wasn't the academic scholars in my family and, really nice people and talking about feelings and stuff. If you had a feeling, they would stomp it out. And the closest thing to love, they said, was hate. So we hated a lot. And that's what you guys had to work with when I showed up here. and thank God for guys like Dan Bradford, I'm sorry I said your last name, but, his mom, Ella May, people used to break my hump. And, I asked first, I did a Facebook thing, hey, I'm going to speak it tonight. And people are like, you're going to count the F-bombs, And I'm like, I don't have to say F-bombs anymore, but I like saying them, but, but when I got here, that's all I knew, And Ella May, Dan's mom, used to come up to me and go, Wayno, F them, we'll drink margaritas tomorrow at them, or pictures of margaritas tomorrow at them. And I caught that. See, I didn't really, get that at first. Tomorrow, not today. And I was like, and then I had to learn to like drinking at people. I always drank at you. And, when they said, pointing the finger, you got 3 back at you, so I started pointing my whole hand, And, but I'm a seeker. Not so much the solution, but what's going to take away this pain, this anguish, this restless, irritable discontent that I got running through my veins. And it was always like a spiritual thing, So I would always I would read like James Allen or Ernest Holmes and Emmett Fox and all these things like Bill Wilson did. And the words were, and let me tell you something. If you're new to this thing and it sounds like I'm just babbling about books and authors and stuff, please, I implore you, pick up these books and read them because, with the brain that we bring in here, none of that information's leaving unless we put new information in there. So I started reading, my sponsor said, read the first 3 steps in the 12 and 12 every day and call me every day. I didn't do it right away, but and he didn't have me do my 4th step until about probably a year after he told me to do that. So anyways, what I realized, it did force out some of the old information and replace it with good, spiritual, sober information. And I was like, wow. And the next thing I found, I was like, half of you don't even read this stuff. And I'm like, what the, so I implore you, if you're new to this thing, read it, man. It's really life-saving, life-changing information that and I don't know about you, but I was a piece of whale turd down at the bottom of the ocean. And people used to pay me large sums of money to leave. And and hire me to kind of do other things. But this information will help you save somebody's life. And it's a value. And it's noble. It's incredible. It's like to see somebody that you help walk a free person. Oh my God. And so, I don't know, after I started drinking and fighting when I was about 5 years old in Flatbush, New York, and Brooklyn, and my grandfather took me down the street after drinking his, Pabst Blue Ribbon and smoking his pipe, and he's from Ireland. He came over, I think, in the turn of the century, and his 18-year-old picture looked like he was 43 years old. He was just like a beat Irishman, And Irishmen are the only ones that, I don't want to get into psychological stuff, man. So I don't want to get distracted because I really want to touch you that are suffering, because this disease doesn't want you to do well. But I do. We do. So if you're new here, please, we can't be mind readers. We're not. So stick your hand out and let us know what's going on. Anyway, so I started fighting when I was 5. I got my head boxed in when I was 5 by this 10-year-old. And all I could think about is my grandfather's patting me on the back, telling me, good job. And I just told myself that I got to be faster, I got to be faster. And then I became a really good fighter. And I didn't know it until it was too late, because I don't like to fight. Getting beat from stepdads and your mom taking a chain and broomstick and those iron cast pans to you and kicking you out the door because I love you. And so I had a lot of rage growing up. And I couldn't take it out on you because I was just a little scrawny kid, bouncing around this country. And I got into Mexican gangs, I got into Italian gangs. I'm German, Greek, and Irish, for Christ's sakes, you know what I mean? And but I'll put on any jacket I got to put on to, do what I got to do. And I was grateful that God has blessed me. And for some reason, I was forced to go to church. I got 3 nuns in my family. My mom wouldn't let us go to any Catholic church because that was my father's side. He's got 3 nuns in his family, his sister and a couple of aunts. And anyway, so she had me go to this church with my sisters and my brother. And he was a half-brother, but we never called him half or step or anything. We're just family. And but I remember them saying something about the, Jesus, and as long as I confessed my sin and repented, he'd forget about my sin. So I thought, with my keen knowledge of 8, 9 years old, 7, 8, 9 years old, all right, so if I tell, on myself to God, he's going to forgive me, he's going to forget. And I lived my whole life that way, that I did whatever I wanted to do because I knew God knew what was ever going to happen before it happened. So I did whatever I wanted and I repented, right? And it's crazy. But dude, I should have been dead a long, long time ago. I've been in some really bad places and doing really stupid things. I was 16 and a half, 17 years old. I was having sex with all these girls in Florida, and I'm underage. They're underage. I didn't think anything of it. I never had a girlfriend. I didn't know. Nobody's coached me and no mentors. And the next thing you know, I got bikers showing up with guns telling me, hey, you got to leave town. I'm like, hey, that's a great idea. And it was January, the end of January, and if you know anything about New York, it's like freezing. And I was forced to go to the subway where they had the newsstand and get all the newspapers and the comic books and the bagels and the locks and all this crap, Sunday mornings with nylon socks and leather shoes and thin pants and not a real heavy duty jacket. And I hated cold, and I hate heat too. I don't like hot. Anyways, I'm a real peculiar twist here. Anyway, so I was thinking, well, where am I going to go? And I packed my bag of tricks and moved to California. My mom moved to a white city where we never lived in a white city. She worked 2 jobs in between husbands all the time, living in, minority neighborhoods. That's how I got in Mexican gangs. And I used to live in Lenox. I knew more pimps and drug dealers. And, I used to steal from one and sell it to the other and go to school selling angel dust. I mean, I was just let's roll dice and I'm taking your money. Like when I went back to New York, I was hustling the blacks at the pool hall across the street from the projects. I mean, it was just, that's what I knew. And God saved me through all of this stuff and doing drugs and alcohol and whatever. Whatever you have is fine with me, whatever you got. You know what I mean? And when you run out, I got to go. I was not comfortable with doing nothing, and I never came up with a bad idea. So that's a scary thing. And anyway, so I ended up in El Segundo. I think I was 17. I think it was 78 or 79, still kind of a bog still. And my mom was working at this bar restaurant, as she always has. And that chatter you hear when you walk into a bar, it's all noisy and shit. I used to have to go and get money from my mom to buy my sister, diapers and my brother some food, because she kept me out of school for 2 years when I was like 10 to 12, because she was in between husbands. So she needed me to watch my little baby sister, and so my brother got to go to school. But I treated him poorly, because when he came home, I would leave, and then now it's his turn. And he died when he was 17, and I was 19, and I was very angry. And my friend asked me, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I want to go hurt people." And he said, "All right." So we went out and we hurt people. And I mean, I'm 17 or 19. I didn't know what to do. I don't deal with that kind of feelings, because I had a lot of hopes. Like, we went through a lot of pain, man. We were going to celebrate when we get the hell out of that house. It never happened. Anyways, I'm such an emotional guy today. I don't hate it. It's awkward. And like I was saying about the drugs and the alcohol, whatever you had was good. I'm on it. And I didn't like alcohol, but everybody did it. Drinking, the Crazy Eights, the malt Schlitz, the Mad Dog 2020, all of it. The only thing I think I liked, what is that, Boom Sparm? That was all right, because it was sweet. It tasted like Kool-Aid, even though you got a bad hangover. And but I didn't really like any of that stuff. Anytime I lose control of my faculties, I did not like it. So I always drank till I was like, you never hear like somebody's like mildly intoxicated throughout the whole day and stuff. That's kind of where I shot for. And when I was over, I knew to hide, because people didn't like me. Everywhere I went, people were sizing me up, and I had this black cloud over me. And I almost killed a couple of cops in El Segundo and beat up 5 of them, not all at once. It was all different, altercations. And let me tell you something, man. I love police. They have one of the hardest jobs in the world. Only reason I did what I did, because I was afraid, and I was angry at authority. I didn't like authority, because all the authority I ever ran into would beat us and do bad things to us. And so, anyways, so I wanted to make sure you know that the police are really good people. They have a tough enough job as it is, and I tried to make an amends to them. And the 5 officers were cool. The 2 that I almost hurt really bad, they were happy for me, but they would never want to hear my voice or see me ever again. So, but I knew I had to go and do that, because I want to do the 8th and 9th. I want to live a free man. I don't want to look over my shoulder. And anyway, so I don't know. I just got to put all that stuff in there. And I hung around a lot of like ex-Vietnam vets that were black belts, and they wanted to teach me to fight, because I knocked this guy out at the beach, and they thought I did it kind of stupid and I needed to like hone my skills. And I'm like, okay. And so we'd fight like, 5 and 6 days a week studying. And then we'd go to these tournaments in Vegas and get kicked out of town because we're crazy people, drunk. And then my friend and I, we're the only 2 out of the group that like a few weeks later, we're like, let's go to the World Internationals in Long Beach and compete. And that's where I was like 4th world champion, thinking I'm cool, but still a loser. But I still enjoyed it, because I like fighting, and well, at least I thought I did. I really don't. I liked when people parted when I came in the room. That feels good. My ego is, I'm an inferior, what is that? An egomaniac with an inferiority complex. And Dan helped me with that one time because I was new. I was at my peak of a fighting. I was like 27 years old, 165 pounds, and really dangerous. And crack will do that to you, trying to drink and smoke crack. Anyway, so, and I remember they had some stupid sticker with the guy with the crew cut, tough guy or something like that. And I bought it for $5, man. I put it on my little Saab that I was driving. And Dan goes, "You can't do that." And I'm like, "Dude, I just paid $5 for that thing." He pulled out of his pocket $5 and said, "Take it off." And I'm like, "Dan, you're killing me." And one time, he was like telling me about, my foul language, the F-bombs, because that's all I ever said. I love that word, man. It describes a lot, right? So we go to the Wednesday night. It was the biggest meeting in Hermosa. Wednesday night speaker meeting was the best, man. And so this little guy from New York shows up, and I'm sitting right next to Dan, and this guy's like this tall, tatted from here to his toes, and was talking about he got sober young, so he got involved with the young people, and then he was speaking at conferences, and he's at this conference, and he had an interpreter, and he started talking about MF. Oh, I don't want to say all the words he said, but the interpreter's like doing all kinds of, funny things. I really wanted to say all that, but I don't want to say all that, and man. So I was afraid about doing the steps. I looked at them on the wall and I was like, that's obvious. Yeah, I don't know. No, you got to be crazy. Get the yeah. So a real Chinese menu with me, and but I was going in and out for a few years, and then I want to know how much time I got. I don't want to be all drunk-a-log and.
You're 25.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Can you give me a $5? Yeah. So I'm looking up the steps on the wall, and I'm having a hard time with this thing. I don't like you got to do all this stuff and get a sponsor and do a forward step. I don't want to tell you where the bodies are. I don't want to tell you what I did. I don't want to tell you what happened to me. I don't want to dig that stuff up. You stupid. Come on. And but after going in and out for a few years, man, you get tendered up, man. Alcohol is a great, only convincer for us, and for me too. And I was desperate like the dying to do this, but I still had a bad ego that was out of whack. And I ended up getting a sponsor and doing the steps. And I would call the old timers, Frank Priest would go, "Nothing's so bad in your life that alcohol and drugs won't F up more." And it was great. It was like I'm looking now to you for new, really sharp looking guy and older, and he used the F-bomb, and I was liking it. And at the podium, it was louder than this podium. But anyways, and so I'd call him, I'd call this other old timer, and I'd call this other old timer, and they were like hardcore AAs, right? But when I talked to them on the phone, this is back when smoking was on that side of the room and not smoking on this side of the room, and everybody said I got to stop smoking, and I was like, and so I'd call these old timers. I'm like on my fourth step, and I'm trying to stop smoking, and then Frank Priest says, "Hey, listen, smoke all you need to right now. That's not going to kill you today. Okay, so do your fourth and be, done with it." And I still couldn't do it. And then I talked to Eric Blore. He's the one that said it's in the eyes. It's like, have respect for Alcoholics Anonymous. Take off your sunglasses. We really can't hear what you're saying. And when you come up to the podium, please take off your hat. Be a gentleman. Let us see you. And I like that kind of stuff. Today people they have a lot of disrespect, or they don't even know they're disrespected. People are not taught. I understand that. That's why I don't break people's balls anymore. I'm not the AA police, man. My life is tough enough as it is. I don't need to be taking your inventory, So I called this guy up and I asked him, "Man, I'm really having a hard time with this fourth step, man. I really don't want to go there, man. I got, And he said, "I want you to go to the 12 and 12 and look at the fourth step in there." And he says, "You see where it talks about having a ledger and putting on a legal paper, one side list all of your assets and the other side put all of your liabilities." And I was like, and it took every ounce of my being and fiber to unplug the phone, lock the door, and and do this thing. And I did it like in about 3 hours, but I took the whole weekend, you know what I mean? It's like real dramatic. And so I called him. I said, all right, I did that. He goes, come on, meet me at the club. So I meet him at the club. We're in his car. And I still have another sponsor. I just got this guy. Only reason I got him because he was the oldest guy I knew in AA, and I'm not going to hit this guy if he tells my story, or you know what I mean? Because I was testing me and testing him. You know what I mean? Because I definitely don't want to go to jail sober, man. Anyway, so it took me like 5 minutes to do my 5th step with this guy, and he looked at me. He goes, "You do any of this stuff now?" And I'm like, "Hell no!" And he goes, "All right," and that was it, right? So I'm like. There was no like feeling like I did anything, but I felt better because I did a 4th and 5th step, mother dog. And they say only 10%ers around here are doing the 4th and 5th step. And I don't know how true that is, but I felt like I was the in crowd, you know, because there is a clique though. There's the people that are doing it and the people that are not. And you can see it. Like I have an air bubble and a brain cell, and you can tell who's running the show really quick. And there's another thing. There's only 2 types of alcoholics, men and women. I'm not trying to get political or anything. Anyway, so now I'm like going back to my routine. I got to start my own paint business and handyman stuff, and the guys that were sober ended up getting loaded. They're showing up at my door and stolen vehicles and drunk and beat up, and I would take them in, and this one guy, I put him in my spare room, and now let me tell you something. I had half a bag of clothes and a bad attitude when I got here. And now I'm like, you know, a couple of years sober, and I got a nice apartment, and you know, anyways. So I had a business, and every day this guy, I try to help people. I would bring him in, you know, that's all I know. And he goes, I was doing that. And this guy had 3 years 3 times. In fact, one of the times I knocked him out because he used to serve beer at the bar I used to go to, and he got smart. And so anyways, you got to love the people you fight. You know what I mean? Come on. If you got the giblets, come on. Anyway, so every day he's saying this to me, and I'm freaking out inside. I'm not showing it, but inside I'm like, oh man, I don't want to get loaded, Lord. And I'd pray, and I'd go over to my sponsor, and I'm like, I remember he was married to Steve's sister, Kimmy, and I'm him and a hawing with this guy. And Kimmy looks at him and goes, Bobby, he wants to go through the book with you. So we end up going through the book. And this time it was a lot more direction, reading the page, or paragraph or page? Paragraph. No, it was a page. I'd read a page, he'd read a page. We underlined. Didn't do very much cross-referencing or anything like the sponsor I have today, but... And so I was going through this, and I did the 4th step, and then when it came time, he gave me 12 days, right, to do it. It took me a month and a half, and I had sponsored a guy that he was done 2 weeks before I was done. So I was like, all right, this fucking thing done. And and I ended up, and Bobby Miller, I wanted to slice his throat. I don't like using weapons. I'm really good with my hands and my feet. I mean, really good. But this guy, he used to embarrass me in front of people because I used to be real flashy. I had like the Mr. T starter set, you know, and diamonds and AA symbols, diamond rings, AA symbols, and my initials, and, you know, I'm from New York, what do you want? And and he would embarrass me in front of you guys. And I'm like, this guy has no idea. You don't talk to me like that. And I just didn't want to get another sponsor or go to jail, prison sober. And So I ended up doing my 5th step with him. It took like 3.5 hours. And after I was done, he says, the most incredible apology of men that I've ever seen a man do in my entire life. I've never felt that. I never felt a sincere, like, understanding apology, man. I mean, really, he was sorry about the way he treated me. Unbeknownst to him, what I had been through and what I used to do to people that would ever, you know, look at me that way and yet alone talk to me that way. And I squat. I don't even, you know, I'm good. But we used that as a reference because that was the maniac that you guys are looking at. I was not a safe guy. You know, people didn't know if I was going to cry in their shoulder or bite their jugular vein. It was really bad. And wow. Well, love you till you can love yourself. I didn't believe that would happen. But man almighty, if you want it. If you don't want it, you're not going to get it. And but I remember I did not have a spiritual awakening as a result of going through the steps. He handed me a list of 17 character defects, said pray on one each for a week, and I think I threw it in one of my armoires and just forgot about it. And because I was still like, you know, hip slick and cool. I had a stable of women I was dating. I was just like a weirdo, and I never had attention like that, man. I had crooked teeth. If you looked at me weird, I would just. And then for the next, I was 2 years sober. For the next decade, I was an angry, irritable, restless, discontent alcoholic. You guys were so happy and enjoying your sobriety and your lives and your whatever. And I wanted to go to your house and check your medicine cabinet because, like, I'm not feeling like that. You know what I mean? What's going on here? And I'm grateful. And then I started golfing, and you know, and people started seeing that I can hit a ball like a mile, and people were like, "I want to golf with you." And I mean, I only have a long game. That's it. I have more balls than what talent is what Mike's saying is. Anyways. God, shut up. Anyways. See, I got him in there still going. So I was golfing with all these guys that were really sober, walking the way they talked, and I was still a wingnut. I was still unpredictable about what I was going to do. And it was this frightening thing for me. You know, it's like, you know, you don't want to drink, but you know you're going to drink, and you drink, and you're like, what did I do? Fudge. And so, and I was doing that stuff sober. I knew I was going to do sinning, and I do, God forgive me, you know what I'm doing. I don't care. I care, but I'm not, you know, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to still do this. But, and that's the way I was for pretty near a dozen years. And it was really miserable. And I couldn't ask for help was the problem. I couldn't tell you I didn't know what I was doing. My pride and ego was so out of whack, it was killing me and choking me out. Thank God they taught me to train my feet to go to meetings, man. Because if I didn't keep showing up, I would have never let you guys in to let me strip away all that stuff that's not me. And so I've been forced to go on a retreat. And so I'm sitting at Rocky Cola's, and my sponsor's sitting in the next booth, and he goes, hey, give me $100. I give him $100, and I'm like, hey, what's that for? And he goes, it's for a retreat. And I'm like, retreat? What are you talking about? Oh, yeah, we go to this monastery out in the Santa Ynez Mountains and go through the steps with a bunch of men. And I'm like, dude, weekend, men, monastery? Get the fuck out of here. So, and he goes, well, you can get another sponsor. And I was like, oh, come on, man. And I cussed out everybody there. The priests, the friars, the others, the retreatants. I was just, dude! I mean, I was the guy that walked in there, that back row there. I was like, all right, move. And my sponsor and Mel and all those guys like, oh, yeah, there's a newcomer. And they'd make noise and move away. And Al Sines, I don't know if anybody remember Al Sines, man. He's a big on meditation. And this guy, he was at the podium. I'm probably talking to my sponsor or saying something stupid, right? And this guy's hitting himself in the head with the big book going, everything right here, right now is good. He did it like 15 times. And I finally look over him and go, what are you, stupid? What are you doing? And he did it again in his head. I'm not doing it in my head. You do it in your head, but I ain't. Anyway, so freaking, I heard him. Everything right here, right now is good. The police ain't looking for me. She ain't looking for me. They ain't looking for me. And I was like, wow. All right, that's what he means. I was like, all right, I like this guy. Hit yourself in the head. I'm not doing it. I used to do that occasionally. I'm like, no, my head is a little more, I don't know. I don't like being hit, even if it's myself. When I was 7, I used to steal. And I stole some gum, and my stepdad, he was like 6'2", 6'2", 6'3", but he was like almost 400 pounds. He threw me down, slammed me, and stepped on my head, made my ears bleed. And I'm going to a meeting. I'm like 6 years sober. My head is killed. I get bad headaches all the time. And I got tinnitus really bad. And I had a flashback of that. And I was like, man, how close was I to having my head popped? You know, because how can you gauge that? You know what I mean? But anyways, I don't like loud noise unless I invite it. And I thought people used to think I didn't like them because I would just walk away, man. Things get too rattled and all that chatter stuff. I got to go. Something happens and I got to protect me, you know. And but today I do a lot more praying, and it helps because prayer helps me with everything. Like getting older, a little bit older, a lot of body pain, a lot of from the work I do and all the fighting. And I used to break brick walls. I mean, I was a maniac. I was a real freaking. This is nothing short of a miracle that's here. And I'm not glorifying all the idiot stuff. It's my story. What am I supposed to do? You know what I mean? Jesus Christ, I can't tell your story. This is mine. And so I really wanted to change. So, and the guys I was golfing with that this guy sponsored was my sponsor's sponsor. And I'm from New York. So if I go up to him, I was like, hey, this is what I need. I asked him, do you sponsor me? And he's like, no. And I'm like, nobody told me no for a long time, let me tell you. This guy told me no without, and I was like, and I thought, why, you rat bastard. And I was like, all right, that was one more time. I'm not going to drink at you. And I'll tell you, the next 6 years was the most brutal 6 years because I was crying for help, but the best I could, like, hey, you're going to help me, right? And that was the best I could do. And I got really tendered up by circling that drain, by my self-will. I remember asking Gordon Cleveland, I was going to the men's stag at the other men's stag, because I went to them all. If I don't change, my sobriety date will, so I'd change it up all the time. And so anyways, I asked Gordon Cleveland, I go, man, everybody's breaking my balls about, you know, my pride and my ego. And he goes, you got pride? You got ego? Good, hang on to them. Well, after that next 6 years of, you know, being, you know, pride and ego filled, and it failed me utterly into a place of desperation that I was dying from my own action. I was manufacturing misery beyond my capacity to pay the price. And I was seeking God's help all the time. Like, I repent, but I was repenting all day. Now you hear me say it like, I thank God all day for my sobriety, my health and work, and a chance to right my wrongs, and another day victory over drugs, alcohol, and bad behavior, and it's 11,867 days. Nothing short of a miracle there. So, and the thing about pointing the finger, back then I had that thought like, well, all right, God, I'll make a deal with you. I'm going to pray for those people I don't like that are making fun of me, or they're, you know, whatever, and the people that are in pain. And I would just, you know, even though we're not getting along, I'm praying for you. I don't care. What are you going to, it ain't going to hurt me, you know? You ain't going to, you know, anyways. So that's what I've been doing for the last 30-something years, unbeknownst to you, but I'm letting the secret out, because I'll tell you what, if I tell you what I do and it helps get me through those, nothing else will work, please utilize it, you know. And that's what they said too. It's like, if you hear something and it sounds like you can utilize it, apply it to your life. But if it doesn't and it flies over your head, let it go. Don't try to catch that stuff. And the same thing about reading the first 3 steps in the 12 and 12. It wasn't about retaining the information. It was about going through with the action, reading those words in my mouth, in my head, and then whatever sticks to the wall, sticks to the wall. And when it doesn't, it doesn't. Big deal. Just keep going. And that's how I do that stuff. And I send out like, I don't know, 300-400 emails in the morning. I do all this AA stuff and then some spiritual stuff, because it helps stop me, and I feel like I'm of service, because some of the theological, philosophical, you know, people that I enjoy, there's other people that enjoy it. And because I need to get all the peace I can get. And it's like the biggest thing is my connection to my higher power. And a lot of times I kind of keep you out of that, and that's not good for me or you. And so I've been flipping that up for the last few years, trying my best, because I need you far greater than you're ever going to need me, and I know that. And all my heroes are like passing on, going upstairs to the big meeting, and you know, like I've been going to Beverly Hills Men's Stag for a long time, and I got my 70th year anniversary, which was several years ago, and They started that meeting in 1946, and they haven't changed the thing at all. And it's a still strong meeting. And if you want to go, you should go. It's a great meeting. And this week's going to be even better because I'll be celebrating my birthday with a bunch of great other men that are just excited about, celebrating their sobriety. And it's, coming in here tonight, having Kate speak for us, and a lot of people showing up for me, really is God's testimony that he loves me, man. And I used to think he used to, even though somehow I knew he was going to let me go to heaven, but for some reason I thought I had to be an example for you not to follow. And that was a lie I lived all my life, And now I get to be an example of things that may help you get to where you're going. Because we're all going the same place. We all have different routes and different ways and different languages and stuff like that. And at least that's my opinion. It's good to see Fred here. We should shoot drugs together. And I'm sorry. No, I was a former scumbag. You know what I mean? And oh man! All right, so I was really angry about not having that spiritual awakening, spiritual whatever you want to call it, and I was mad because you guys are like living life and you're smiling and doing nothing. You're smiling. I'm like, and I don't know if I was jealous or just pissed off. Probably a little of both. And so I asked this guy again, thank you, and he said no. So I'm like, at the time, almost 12 years sober. No, I was 12 years sober. And I said, look, chap. I didn't say chap. And I gave him double barrel shotgun. I said, your life as an ex-problem drinker depends upon your constant thought of others and how you're going to help meet their day. And you got the audacity to tell me no. And for the next, because we used to smoke cigars there, and so we walk up to the cattle guard, and I would tell him like what happened from the time he said 6 years ago no to what happened then, and I'm asking you again, and it was a little rough. I was pretty hard on him, and he's a big guy, and I love big guys. Anyways, so he goes, you're right. He goes, I will sponsor you. Are you willing to go to any length? And I said, yes. And at that time, I was seeing a psychiatrist because I was dying, because Alcoholics Anonymous will fix alcoholism, but it won't fix everything. I knew I wasn't chemically unbalanced. I just knew I was crazy. People used to call me psycho behind my back. I like Wayno a lot better. So, and I told him, I said, I had to be interviewed because I was kind of like destitute at the time and couldn't afford to go to a paid place. And so they said, we need an interview with his supervisor. And we sat in that room and they asked me a battery of questions and then I would answer them. I said, listen, let's cut this. You're going to learn more from me than you did in your 12 years of your medical school, to be honest. I'm the guy that you read about, okay? And I didn't drink. I am not a pedophile after being raped as a kid. I'm not a murderer after being beaten, treated like crap in this life. And I'm not a full-blown criminal. So, and I actually want to change my life for the better. So they were like, okay, we'll take this guy, right? But they made me go on medication, and I didn't want to be on medication. And I reluctantly took it for a minute, and then I stopped taking it, and then I almost killed a couple at some road rage thing down the road there. And I called the doctor because I stopped seeing him, because if he's going to make me take pills, there's no point in seeing him because I'm not going to take the pills, then I don't need to talk to him, right? But then after that incident, I was like, wait a minute, I don't go to prison sober, so I call him up and he goes, just start taking the pills and come and see me Friday. So I would see him twice a week for like 3 or 4 years. But after 6 months or less, he said, stop taking the pills. And I was like, do you want me to take half? He goes, no, just stop. So I was like, he's giving me a placebo, rat bastard. And so at least that's what I thought. But it was really comforting that I'm not chemically imbalanced, and I'm sorry for those that are. I used to think it's all bullshit, but it's not. There's some people that are really chemically imbalanced. And I just, FYI, I'm still learning and still accepting that I don't know everything, because I can not know about a subject and know all about it. Just ask me, I'll tell you so. And so when my sponsor asked me, are you are you willing to go to any lengths, and are you taking any medication? I'm willing to go to any lengths, and I am on medication. He says, well, I can't sponsor you. And I said, that's bull. And he goes, no, I can't. I don't have experience. And I said, yeah, you don't. That's right. That's why I have a doctor. Let the doctor doctor me, and you sponsor me through the book. What the hell? He was like, okay. And his wife's big out on that, and she didn't like me because she knew of all my stable of women that I was having. And so my first time over there, it was right after my birthday, and there was I couldn't come 5 minutes early, couldn't come 5 minutes late. And I could call and say, I can't make it. That way, at least I'm somewhat being responsible. But there was 3 other guys that I kind of knew around the program. One I did for sure. The other 2 I didn't really know. They're from Beverly Hills, Men's Stag, but they lived around here. And they all like, hey, wait on. They gave me a great embrace, sung me happy birthday. And then we started reading the big book. And we went through the big book. My sponsor was just no frills. He's a big book enthusiast. He's a commitment enthusiast. He's a meeting maker. This guy is like, you just do the drill and no iffy or wishy-washy stuff. And so I was going through the book with him, and we'd go so fast, I'm like crossing out the whole sentences as I'm going. I'm like trying to keep up with him, you know? And he looks over and he goes, you can tell me to slow down. I was like, oh, okay, can you slow down? And anyways, but I'm going to tell you something. Going through the book with this guy, and desperate as the dying to grab a life preserver, I had that vital spiritual experience that I've been looking for through the drink, through the fight, through the sex, through whatever. And at that moment, I knew I owe my life to this thing. And I still do. I'll never be able to pay back the peace and the joy that I have from helping another human being. Male, female, it doesn't matter. And any color, any gender, who gives a fuck, you know? Dang it. There was one, whoever's counting. Well, you can hardly hear it, so. Oh, man. So, and then I got to go through the steps again. I've already did like the 4th and 5th and did the 8th and 9. Luckily, I didn't have a lot of financial stuff drinking, but in my sobriety, it's been a real colorful journey, if you can't tell. And it would take another, session to really get into that, and I'm not getting into that. That's why I have a therapist and a sponsor and friends. Yeah, you know what? If you're new to this thing and you're getting your bearings, got some sponsees and stuff, make sure they get phone lists of other people in the meeting, because I don't got all the answers. Rely on your brother and your sister in AA, because together is how we do this thing. But if you're going to follow direction, stay with your sponsor and that tree, so that way you're not going to be pulled from all different sides. Because it's easy you can ask 100 people that have no idea of each other, and they're all going to give you 100 different ideas. But if you stay with the one that you're planted with, you're going to get the same consistent, solid, good information. And that's what we're trying to do here. We can't sell you anything. And if you're here, we're not like Sippy says, we're not trying to sell you anything. We want for you. We don't want anything from you, And it's like if, you do what we do, you're going to get what we get. But you're actually going to get better than what we get, because we all have a personal higher power that actually wants you to be sober, to carry this message to the alcoholic that's suffering, still suffering today. And so hopefully you embrace this thing with everything you got. And you got a sobriety date, protect it with all you got. Mine's 8/27/91, and I'm not playing with that, and I don't joke with that. I don't joke about your sobriety. And you got to watch out. There's a big asshole in here. And you're looking around, it's the one in your underwear.